Hello Enchanted ones, and welcome back. Today, join me as I prepare for spring, go about my forest witch duties, manifest my garden dreams with my new Botanical Book of Shadows, and finally, I bring you along with me as I host a ritual with the fairies for a new beginning this spring. So, sit back, relax, and step into the Enchanted Woods with me. Throughout winter, I have been hibernating, and for much of January and February, healing myself through things that have arisen to the surface through the darkest months. But today is the day I finally embrace the outside without feeling too cold. Today is the day I am grateful for the winter, the darker half of the year, because that is what I needed then. But today's the day that I am grateful for the subtle new signs of spring, the lighter half of the year, because this is truly what I need now. I must admit, to me, spring is the most healing time of the year. It brings excitement and new energy that felt like it would never return. For much of winter, you would have found me here, down the healing trail, a place full of evergreens that gave me life during the winter. And believe me, the trees and the plants here have heard all my tales and have been like my therapists. I often feel like a patroller within these woods, like I am drawn to protect it and help it in any way possible. After the winter and storms, I'm always nervous that the woods won't look the same and that the trees will be blown down. But I am constantly reminded that the woods is an ever-changing circle of life, and each year there are good things that replace the trees that fall. And no matter what changes nature goes through, it will still always feel like home, an ever-changing home. But I have both smelt and felt a feeling recently, something bubbling under the surface, and that something is spring. So today, I am to go somewhere that I haven't been for a while, the fairies' den, to look for new signs of spring and to check on how it is doing after the long winter. But in order to gain access to the fairies' den, I need to go underneath a portal of ivy. I was delighted to see that the fairies' den was untouched by the winter storms. It is here the very first signs of spring begin to show, and during the summer months it is inaccessible as it gets too overgrown, so I like to make the most of it now. So, to do this I did my most favourite thing, to stop and listen, look and feel with no distractions. After a few minutes, I began to see the first signs of spring before my very eyes. A small pink flower on a hazel tree, the most unexpected new friend, along with its catkins, swaying so free in the wind. A little robin and birds getting tamer around me, unknowing I was there. But something caught my eye in the distance, and I felt obligated to check it out. The most unusual slime was across the silvery stream, and it looked so familiar, but I was so confused as to what it was. After a few minutes I thought, of course, this wasn't meant to be on land at all. It was frog spawn, and it needed to be in the water. So I gently carried it away from the log and placed it in a safe space in the silvery stream next to it. So hopefully these tadpoles will get the life they deserve. After this, I checked upon another special place, further up the stream. Although it looks very empty here, in just a few months' time, it will be overrun with the most powerful fairy energy, bluebells. But for now, I wait and say goodbye to the bare ground. Whilst I was in the woods, I took some pictures for a very special project I am to start this year. I love the woods and everything it has to offer, so this year I thought I want to bring my woods not only into my home, but into my garden. Perfect. Oh my god, this is such a good shot. I want to turn my garden into the most ultimate, enchanting, fairy, overgrown garden there ever was. And now it was time to manifest these dreams into reality. I've also started to collect small pieces of nature that stand out to me to eventually make a dream fairy house for my fairy friends, but also the lush moss upon them will attract more wildlife into my garden. I've even gone as far as gathering seeds from the past year to hopefully sow them in my garden. But now's not the time to plant new things within the garden. Living in England, there is a lot of unpredictable weathers. Now it is time to plan it, my most magical garden. That isn't just going to be gardening, it's going to be magical and a ritual in every aspect, from the magical qualities of the plants and herbs to the fairy gardens and fountains I plan to make. Last year, my garden turned into my wildest dreams, and I was so happy with how it came out. So this year, I plan to go one step further and video the whole process for you. But before we plan, let me give you the grand tour of what we are working with this year in my garden. So as you walk out the door, you'll be greeted by a lovely seating area. This here is my baby from last year. It hasn't got its cushions in because it's been winter, of course, but I love sitting in this chair and bobbing up and down and spinning around. And also we have the bench here. It desperately needs a new lick of paint. I normally keep my herbs around this area because it's just really easy to just come out and grab them for a cup of tea. I did actually buy my first thing for the woodland theme, and it is an English bluebell. If you live in England, buy the English bluebells because Spanish bluebells are taking over the woodlands and it's not good for the wildlife, just so you know. Now, one of the things that really annoys me about this house is the grass, and because it is not real grass, it is fake grass. But as you know, we are renting this house, so it's just something we've got to put up with. And then these three boxes here, these are dealing with the fact that the wall is really low, so it's a little bit of an inconvenience having a really low wall when you're trying to like do yoga here. People are passing by and seeing you do yoga. It's a bit awkward. In here we have a lot of evergreens, and I'm going to add to these too, but I do need to paint them and add more woodland plants and moss to them too. Down here at the bottom of the garden, now you know the shed. You know the shed very, very well. It's not looking good, my loves, it's not looking good. We need to paint it desperately. But I also was thinking maybe kind of drawing some ivy on that. I think that'll look really, really nice. And this is a little seating area. We need to work on that because I do not know what's going there. Now, there is something very magical that I need to show you behind this. Now, if you've seen my fairy garden video, you'll know I made this over last year to be a beautiful fairy garden, but unfortunately it has not survived the winter, which is really sad. So I'll have to make another one this year, a bit more sturdy. But I noticed something in December, I think, that was the most magical thing of all, because even though the fairy home hasn't made it, the fairies have truly made it their own. So yes, the fairies have moved in and it is beautiful. Instead of the little ladder that I put up, they have replaced it with little mushrooms instead. And I was just so happy when I saw this, because I was feeling so devastated that it broke, that it didn't make it. So love you, fairies. We have this really random corner that I don't know what to do with this year. I kind of made it into a sweet little bit last year because of the insects and because of this really spiky plant. It just didn't work, basically. So I did move some of these herbs of mine in here. I'm so excited to see they're coming up again. We have lemon balm here. Here we have apple mint. Here, just peeking up now, we have just some plain mint. Just absolutely love mint. It's just my go-to herb. In here, we're going to have some lavender. So, I knew what I was working with. Now I had to manifest my dreams to come true. And for this, I bought my very own magical botanical book of shadows. Within this, I am to write everything I put in my garden, the plan, the magic, the rituals, and I'm so excited to bring you along with me. I've been collecting images and information for a few months now about what I wanted to put into my garden to turn it into one big mood board. I also had little squares with each plant's magical properties, when it's best to plant them, and all the plants will be plants you'd find within English woodland. I just want my garden to be as authentic to the wildlife around me as possible, but I also wanted the plants to possess qualities to help me feel safe, but also bring fairies so they would help my garden to thrive. I stuck these in the book, but I didn't just stop there. I wanted to manifest through art magic, choosing the colours I wanted, drawing pictures I wanted to see, and overall envisioning what I wanted it to look like throughout the whole process. So one day, my vision will come a reality. And after 8 pages, my plan was complete. So it is the next day. I spent many hours doing my manifestation board last night, and I'm happy to say that it is complete now. Well, it's all complete, but the front cover, and that's why I need your help. So if you have any ideas for the front cover, remember it needs to be extra and magical, leave them below, because I think an entire video calls for how I can make over this new book. Let me show you what I've done inside. So the front cover, I think I'm going to change this too. I'm going to get more like nature in it, maybe even paint it a different colour, I'm not sure yet. But what is very important in this first page is this white bluebell that I found last year in the woods. And did you know that white bluebells are quite rare and can mean good luck? So I put it there just to add a little bit of extra magic and bring me some good luck with manifestation. And I left this page blank. Who knows, I might need a contents page. And then we get into the garden stuff. So this is just the first page on the garden. It kind of looks a bit messy now, but I do love the colours of the whole page. I love the feel of it, the information everywhere, the gold, the brown and the green, and that's just basically my mind exploded onto this page. So I really like how that's turned out. And then on this second page, I've done something quite interesting. I kind of manifested I drew a picture of the woods and how I see it. Magical, enchanting, of course, but then it's carried on to this page and brought into my garden. So I've got little fairies in the woods there, and then little fairies by my shed, and some flowers along the bottom that are known for fairies and just their airy fairy nature that I thought would be nice there. I don't know how I'm going to paint my shed yet, but I drew it here because when I do know how I'm going to paint it, I'll make this bit over basically, see what it looks like on here first. The next page, so I had this idea last night and I really love this idea that I want to create another fairy arch outside. Isn't that just the best idea? I've got an arch inside, but why haven't I got an arch outside? I don't know. So I'm going to do one outside, just basically drawn lots of green and lush plants, things dangling from the arch. Basically what you're going to see when you look through the arch, one side being the seating area and one side being the shed. And I really love the idea of having stepping stones leading up to the shed. I think that's quite cute. And then on the last page, more plants, but I've also stuck in a few sweet peas and things that are just meaningful to me. Some of these sweet peas were from my mum's garden and I've just got such a lovely, nice memory with them. So I put them on there to just bring my memories to life. There are so many different ways that you can manifest things. For me, it's kind of the visualization of things, the colors, just overall knowing so much information about them, just so I can know as much information as possible before growing them, so I have more of a success rate of doing it. I have one more thing left to do, and I was going to leave the video here, but this morning I drew an oracle card just like I do every day, but it came up with the least likely one I was ever expecting to come up today, and it was the fairies card. I haven't had this card since last year when I was making my fairy garden video, which is really surprising because I haven't had it since then. But with a read of the book of what the card means, every flower, tree or shrub you are tending is a living being, so treat each like you would a dear friend. Ask the fairies to help you take care of these friends, and you will be rewarded many times over. If that is not a sign for what I should do next, then I don't know what is. I'm so happy that happened. So I have written a little script of how I'm going to ask the fairies. It's just a little rhyme and I'll show you that in a minute, but I also want to leave a little offering just to welcome them and just to say to them, thank you for being here. Enjoy, basically. So let's put that together now. As a bowl for my offerings, I used my little twig nest, and within this I placed the energy of a lot of collected treasures. The fern I collected from the woods to bring the energy of the healing trail, a small piece of bark from a fir tree, its smell still pungent and beautiful, the sweet smell of alliums collected from my mum's garden, and some nostalgic memories of mine and scents, sweet peas and rose petals to show them how much they mean to me. I've had a few comments to say fairies are malevolent and shouldn't be called upon, but I do not believe this is true for a second. I believe fairies are misunderstood beings. Their top priority is protecting the nature around them. So, if your heart is full and you respect nature, you are a friend of theirs. They do like to be cheeky though. Once my offering nest was complete, I journeyed outside to start my ritual, and I placed it upon their home. Fairies, of far and wide, welcome to my garden. Please make yourself at home here and take what you need. All I ask is please help me. Help the leaves flourish strong and green, and the flowers to multiply more than I've ever seen. And please take my offerings for your colony to grow. A blessed spring to you all. Thank you for watching, Enchanted Ones. All my love, Alwyn.